Welcome to another Bible contemplation. Late again, but as most of you know, it's been a different week for me. So there are some of the bereavement cards that I've received behind me. There are many more, and I've really appreciated them. And a picture of my dad in a Dakota. And that side, there is a vase that he made at college when he learned to hand raise, which is hammering a flat piece of metal until it becomes a vase. And, you know, there's a lot of skill. It's a silver-plated vase, which is very special to me. But let's take a moment just to connect with God. Just be aware of your breathing. Find that way of opening to God. And a prayer. Jesus, may all that is in you bubble up inside me. May your body and blood be my food and drink. May your passion and death be my strength and life. Jesus, with you by my side, enough has been given. May the shelter I seek be the shadow of your cross. Let me not run from the love which you offer, but hold me safe from the forces of evil. On each of my dyings shed your light and your love. Keep calling me until that day comes, when with your saints I may praise you forever. Amen. We're now into 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 18 to 21. Servants, in reverent fear of God, submit yourselves to your masters, not only to those who are good and considerate, but also to those who are harsh. For it is commendable if someone bears up under the pain of unjust suffering because they are conscious of God. But how is it to your credit if you receive a beating for doing wrong and endure it? But if you suffer for doing good and endure it, this is commendable before God. To this you are called, because Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his steps. Ouch, another heavy one. Servants, submit to your masters. To this you are called. If you suffer for doing good, this is commendable before God. These days we recoil from the very idea of being anyone's servant. So this is a difficult passage for us now. And we want Jesus to have suffered for us in the past. I don't think we want to do, as Peter clearly says, to follow his example of suffering. I think this is an example of the way we've narrowed the gospel and not kept a biblical breadth to what Jesus did for us on the cross. Again, this points to me to the need for deep acceptance of our situations, whatever they are. And remember that this was not written by some high and mighty, well-to-do person who was out of touch with the conditions of ordinary people. This is Peter, the working man. Yes, a skilled, semi-skilled working man. He was a fisherman, but he retained a connection with that experience of ordinary life. And he is saying that we should submit to God even in the difficult circumstances in which we find ourselves. Hope it's not COVID. Even in this awful time that we're now living through of COVID, even whatever you're going through right now, and it could be grim. For readers at the time, it was in the context of them being persecuted for their faith. And so often I find myself saying to God, well, I would submit to you, but in different circumstances, it's just too difficult now. I'm sure you understand. If things were different, I would. The challenge is to find God here and now and submit to him however things are. Servants, in reverent fear of God, submit yourselves to your masters, not only to those who are good and considerate, but also to those who are harsh. For it is commendable if someone bears up under the pain of unjust suffering, because they are conscious of God. But how is it to your credit if you receive a beating for doing wrong and endure it? If you suffer for doing good and you endure it, this is commendable before God. To this you were called, because Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his steps. The word I'm drawn to today is not an easy one. It is submit. What we're called to is submission to God in difficult circumstances, including when people are hurting us. But I need to say that, as last week, there is a need to challenge injustice at some point. I find it difficult, but I can't get away from the fact that with Jesus, submission comes first. But there may well be a need to say, no, I must not put up with this. If I'm being abused, if I am being treated wrongly, then you need to find something to do about that. So with that in mind, let's go with the word submit. Submit. Servants, in reverent fear of God, submit yourselves to your masters, not only to those who are good and considerate, but also to those who are harsh. For it is commendable if someone bears up under the pain of unjust suffering, because they are conscious of God. But how is it to your credit if you receive a beating for doing wrong and endure it? But if you suffer for doing good and endure it, this is commendable before God. To this you are called, because Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his steps. So let's recognise before God our reticence to submit, our fear of difficulty and pain, our resistance to being anyone's servant, but the sense of God's call to submit and to find God in submission to others as we submit to God. All accepting one, we come to you as we are, noticing within ourselves the turbulence of our feelings, recognizing the pain of how things are now in this world, and the sickening feeling that worse is yet to come. Thank you that you accept us and love us as we are. Have mercy on us all. Have mercy on us in our situations. And give us grace to submit to you and to others for Jesus' sake.